Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jordan and thank you so much for clicking on one of my bookish videos. Today I am here to do my monthly wrap up. I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in September, which was such a good month. I read so many good books and branched out a little bit in the normal genres I read, and I can't wait to talk about all of them. So if you are interested in hearing me talk about all of the books I read in September, then keep on watching. Okay, so in September, I read 16 books total. 3 of them were audiobooks. I started out the month on a small little break in between jobs, so I definitely read a lot at the very beginning of the month, which was a great start. And I made it through a lot of books that I really wanted to read. I picked up a few like cozy fall-themed romances, which I feel like I wouldn't normally gravitate towards, but all of the covers and reviews that I've been hearing about like the cozy fall romances this year have been so good, and I ended up enjoying all of them, which is very exciting. And I've been trying to tackle my fantasy TBR for the fall, and I made it through a few of them. So yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, this is in no particular order. This is not the order that I read them, but to start off with one of the cozy fall romances, I read If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia. This was so good. It is, in my mind, a Gilmore Girls, Stars Hollow inspired cozy fall romance. It deals with this main character whose mother just passes away, and she has to go to this small town to take over running her mom's inn before her sister can like graduate school and come take it over permanently. And so when she arrives at the town, she meets Cliff, who is her next door neighbor, single dad baker, who basically helps her kind of fit in with the town and learn how to run the inn. It just was the perfect vibes. The cover deserves 5 stars alone for how beautiful it is, and I had so much fun reading it. It was so cozy and heartwarming and just comforting to read, and I gave this 4.5 stars. Okay, next is another what I would say cozy fall romance, and one of my favorite books of the month, and that is It's Different This Time by Joss Richard. This was gifted to me by Dell Romance, so thank you so much to them. Like If It Makes You Happy, I heard a lot about this book before I decided to pick it up. It is a second chance romance set in New York City. Again, 10 out of 10 for the beautiful fall themed cover. And it follows June and Adam, who used to be roommates and best friends when they lived together in New York City after school. One day, June packed up and left and went to LA to be an actress. And this book picks up in the future. June and Adam are brought back together because they find out that they just inherited their old brownstone apartment in New York City that they used to live in, and they have not talked in 5 years. This book was so beautifully written. This is a debut author, and Joss absolutely killed it with this book. It was so emotional. I loved the character development, and I love a second chance romance, especially when it's best friends to lovers. I gave this an easy 5 stars. Okay, the last of the cozy romances that I read, The Heartbreak Hotel by Ellen O'Clover. I believe this is another debut author, which also is so impressive. I absolutely love this one. So it follows this main character, Louisa, and she was just broken up with by her rock star boyfriend, and she is determined to stay in the house that she's been living in with him for the past few years, but she doesn't have money to do so. She's at a point where she's really lost in her career a lot because of her boyfriend and their relationship, and so she has to persuade their landlord Henry to convince him to turn the house into a bed and breakfast for her to try and make money and still stay there. Her and Henry enter this friendship together where they end up creating this bed and breakfast as the Heartbreak Hotel. So people people from all over come to this bed and breakfast to stay, get therapy, heal, among others, go on, you know, hikes and nature walks. And it's this really beautiful place that all these heartbroken people for different reasons come together. I really liked Louisa and Henry's characters. They both had really traumatic pasts for different reasons, and the way that they healed in this book and through their relationship was so wonderful. So I give this 4.5 stars. Okay, next I read 2 shorter books. First, I read The People's Project by Saeed Jones and Maggie Smith. This was gifted to me by Atria Books, so thank you very much to them. This is a really wonderful nonfiction book. It's a compilation of a bunch of different poems and essays that a bunch of these different activists wrote in the wake of the 2024 election and just the current world that we live with. So it deals with a lot of current world events and political events, and it was really beautiful. It was really moving and inspiring and something I felt like I really needed, and it's a super short read. So I don't really rate nonfiction, but I would give this a 4.5 stars. And then I would call this a novella. This is Exit Lane by Arika Vurank. This was gifted to me by 831 Stories, so thank you very much to them. 831 Stories does these like debut romance novellas by authors in the genre, and this is I would call it like a second chance romance. It gave me very, very much Normal People vibes and When Henry Meets Sally, and it basically follows these 2 characters who meet one day on a post-graduation drive from Iowa City to New York City. They fall in love very quickly, but they have to go their separate ways, and they both gravitate back towards each other again and again multiple times throughout the rest of their life. It is a second chance romance, a third chance romance, a fourth chance romance, and fifth chance romance. It packs a punch in a very short book. I honestly could have read so much more. I just cried reading it. It was emotional. It was beautiful. I could really relate to both the characters and the conflicts in their relationship, and I give this 4.5 stars. Next came a book that I absolutely loved, and that is Imogen, obviously, by Becky Albertalli. I had the pleasure of meeting Becky back in June, I think, and I felt like an idiot for not reading any more of her books because I read Simon versus Homo sapien Agenda back when I was younger and really loved it, and I heard from a lot of my friends that this is their favorite Becky book, and my goodness, Chef's Kiss. This book was so good. It is young adult queer romance. It follows Imogen, whose best friends are gay. She is roped into going to one of her best friends' new college campus to hang out with her and basically meet her gay friends for the first time. And Imogen has always been the straight ally in her friend groups. When she gets to campus and meets her friends, new college friends, she starts to kind of question her sexuality and her feelings about another girl in the group. Basically, it's just Imogen's journey through figuring out her sexuality as a young woman and figuring out her identity and what she cares about. I absolutely loved it. I related to her character so much, and I think it's such an important book, especially in this day and age. I think whether or not you are young, if you are interested in reading queer books and a queer romance, this is the perfect book for you. I gave this 5 stars. Okay, next I picked up a fantasy book in a new, very long fantasy universe, and that was Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. So this is the first book in a trilogy, but it's within a wider universe with all these interconnected series, and my friend Reese absolutely raves about this series. She loves the characters and loves the fantasy world, and I really wanted to pick it up because I feel like it's a classic in the genre, and I really enjoyed it. I listened to the audiobook back and forth and did a bit of a hybrid read. It follows Fitz, who is the bastard son of this prince, and you basically see him go on this journey, a neglected bastard, someone who becomes noticed by the prince, by the king, and has a role in the kingdom. Kind of him trying to figure out who he really is, what he cares about figuring out his relationships and his role as an apprentice and eventually as an assassin's apprentice. So he is tasked with killing all of these political enemies within the kingdom. I really enjoyed it. I do want to read the next book. It definitely piqued my attention enough to continue. I do think it was a bit slow for me, but I've heard really, really good things about the rest of the series, so I'm planning to keep reading. And I gave this 4 stars. Okay, next I picked up You've Found Oliver by Dustin Tao. This was gifted to me by Penguin Teen, so thank you very much to them. This is the companion novel to You've Reached Sam, which absolutely blew up around the COVID period on Book Talk. And when I read it, I really loved You've Reached Sam. It made me cry. I still remember my reactions reading it. This follows the events at the end of You've Reached Sam, and Oliver is going through really intense grief and healing journey. He finds out that he has been texting his friend Sam's phone, but he actually has been texting this boy named Ben. And one day they figure out that they've really been talking to each other, and you go on this journey with Oliver as he slowly falls in love with Ben and really heals while in this relationship and friendship with Ben. It explores concepts like black holes and fate and soulmates and just parallel universes, which I thought was really, really cool, and also an interesting way to kind of explore the dynamics of grief. And I really loved it. I feel like it was a companion novel that was really well done, and I gave it 4 stars. Next, I read a book that has been on my TBR for quite some time, and that is Writers and Lovers by Lily King. So I know, sue me, because I've never read a Lily King book before September, but I have heard really, really great things about her writing, and I've been wanting to check it out. And I really enjoyed this book. My friend Jasmine absolutely raves about Lily and this book specifically, and I'm glad I picked it up. It was a super easy read. It is a mix of a romance and just an exploration of life and relationships. It really reminded me of Normal People and Sally Rooney's writing, which is something that I love with an author. And I gave this 4 stars, and it made me want to pick up her new book, which just released. Next, I read one of my favorite books of the month, and honestly, I think one of my favorite books of the year, and that is Chain Gang All-Stars. So I listened to this book on audio, and I thought the audiobook was absolutely phenomenal. I got mine from Penguin Random House Audio, so thank you very much to them. And I loved it so much that I went and got the physical book right away. This book is dystopian, and it's set in a modern world, in a future America world, and unfortunately has a lot of parallels to the current state of America and our criminal justice and incarceration system. It's very much a dialogue and conversation about our incarceration system and the different injustices, effects on communities and families and people from our criminal justice system. I thought it was terrific and absolutely horrifying. This is a very, very dark and horrible book. Please check trigger warnings if you're interested in it, because there are so many different triggers within it. However, I thought that it was so well done and genuinely a must read for everybody in this country. Basically, it follows a world where people who are incarcerated in America are subjected to torture within jails and prisons, and people can sign up to be part of the chain gang, which is these groups of prisoners who form together, form these little units and families, and then fight to the death in competitions and trials in an arena. And it has become a sport to bet on and root for your different prisoners to kill each other. The concept of it is just so crazy and so on point and so well done. My mind just felt blown listening to it, and I can definitely see myself rereading this again in the future. I gave it 5 stars. Next, I read another dystopian book that comes out this week, and that is Conform by Ariel Sullivan. This was gifted to me by Ballantine Books and Thousand Voices, so thank you very much to them. I was really intrigued by this book because Thousand Voices is a new publishing imprint with Jenna Bush Hager from Jenna's book club. And I feel like to start with a dystopian, I really, really love that. I feel like this is going to be interesting to hear reviews on because to me, I thought it was going to be more of like a dystopian with a romance. I very much think that it was just very dystopian focused. It gave me very much The Handmaid's Tale, but I really, really like this one. It is set in a futuristic world that has been ravaged by a nuclear war. The women in this world, their only responsibility is to reproduce, and there's these different tiers of citizens. So it is divided up by class, which is determined by your genetics. The themes in this book I felt were really important and really well done, and I enjoyed it. I've been loving dystopian books this year, and I think that this really knocked it out of the park. I'm very, very curious to see where the rest of the series goes because I believe it's a multi-book long series, and I really enjoyed it. I gave this 4 stars. Okay, next I did a reread of one of my favorite books of the year, and that was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I previously read this book and reviewed it, and I think I may have even read it in a vlog. So I will try to link those videos above so you can see like my full thoughts. But basically, I wanted to reread it because my friend Olga Cree just came out with Atmosphere bookish merch, and when I got it, I was like, wait, I need to reread this book again. Especially just, I needed something queer and rebellious and just reminding me about the power of women and community and fighting it back against current systems. I love this audiobook so much. It is narrated by, it was just so beautiful. I felt more emotional listening to this book than reading it. It follows a female astronaut named Joan, who is one of the first female scientists in the NASA space shuttle program, and her relationship and trials and tribulations of being in the NASA space shuttle program as a woman while also figuring out her identity and her sexuality and what matters to her, and falling in love with one of her other female colleagues, Vanessa. I loved it. I thought it was so beautiful. I think that the quotes in this book are something that will stick with me literally forever, and this is a 5 stars read for me. Okay, the last 2 books are both fantasy. I first read The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. This, I have seen a few different friends talk about it, and it really intrigued me. It is an epic fantasy. It is following these 2 female main characters, among others. It's a sapphic romance, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that the fantasy world was really cool and immersive, and it definitely trapped me into the story. So this follows Princess Malini and Priya. Her entire family was murdered by the people in her group, and she has been basically masking her identity and her powers and hiding. And one day she saves Princess Malini from being killed and is tasked with being Princess Malini's maid. And the 2 of them very quickly have a very strong connection and chemistry and are slowly falling in love with each other in a world where that is not allowed, especially for the princess. The princess has very firm ideas and plans to take over her kingdom. Her brother is this very cruel emperor who burns women and wants to burn her, and she's determined to break free and put her other brother on the throne. And it was just really well done. I really enjoyed it. It definitely made me want to pick up the next book immediately. I really liked the romance in it, but I also really liked both of the female main characters. I felt like they were very strong and brave, but also complex and flawed. And I gave this 4.5 stars. Okay, and finally, I read this huge beast of a book, Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This is the 3rd book in the Kindred Curses series, and I love this series. It's a romantasy. It's something that just completely enthralls me every time I read it. In this book, Diem and Luther are basically sent on these different journeys to try and win political alliances because their world has gone to war and their kingdom has gone to war. And so they are traveling throughout all these different kingdoms, trying to win over the different descended kings and queens, gain political power and backing in this war. This entire book is basically Diem and Luther continuing to be in a very slow burn romance because of their circumstances and their traveling. So that absolutely killed me because let me tell you, no spoilers, but it took forever for the romance to go the way that I wanted it to go. However, as someone who loves slow burn, this was perfect to me. I really enjoyed it. I felt like it really moved the story along, and it was interesting to see like all of these different political sides to the magical world. The end was an insane cliffhanger, and I need the next book now because I want to know what's going to happen. I gave this 4.5 stars. Okay, so that is it for this wrap-up video. I hope that you enjoyed hearing me talk about each of these books. I had such a good reading month. There were very few books I didn't like. I really loved most of them. I definitely found a few new favorites of the year in multiple genres. I feel like it was just such a good month. A great start to the Burr months. I'm so excited for my October TBR and all of the fantasy books and new releases that I'm planning to read. So definitely keep an eye out for some vlogs from me. And yeah, if you enjoyed this bookish video, I would love if you subscribe and stay around for more. Let me know your favorite book that you read in September, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.